Hey guys, it's your boy, Tom Talks Rubbish, and today I'm back with another video, this time reviewing the third Bad Boys film, Bad Boys for Life. To start off with guys, I'm just going to give you my general thoughts without looking at my phone for my notes. I really enjoyed this film. I thought that I honestly wasn't looking forward to it because I really enjoy the last two Bad Boys films, and because there'd been such a gap between Bad Boys 2, which I think came out in, I should have looked this up before I started really, 2003, and now we're in 2020 obviously. I was a bit like, how are they going to be able to do it? Because a lot of the stuff that they did in Bad Boys 1 and 2 wouldn't be politically correct anymore. Like, a lot of the humour, a lot of the action, not so much action scenes, but a lot of the in-between scenes, shall we say, may not be politically correct anymore. But I feel like they did a really good job. Also, like, one thing I will say is, I'll get into this when I get more into my general, like, my highlights and dislikes of the film, but I really liked the fact that they steered in to the fact that, no disrespect intended, but Will Smith and Martin Lawrence are older now. Yes, Will Smith keeps himself in really good shape, but even Martin Lawrence admits he's not as trim as he once was. So I really like the fact they leaned into it with a lot of old jokes. Like, they're... Right, we'll get into the general plot, guys, before I talk anymore. So basically, the plot is, both of them are old school cops now, and Marcus, who is Martin Lawrence's character, his daughter has a baby, so this gets him thinking about, maybe it's time to hang it up, maybe it's time to retire. And Will Smith's character, Mike Lowry, is basically like, nah man, I'm never going to retire, I'm going to be running down criminals till I'm dead, basically. And yeah, I really enjoy that, like the dynamic of the two opposing, the old guy who knows time is running out, so he wants to make the most of it, and the old guy who's basically in denial and thinks that he'll always be as young as he was when he was in his 20s. So I really like that juxtaposition, I think is the phrase. But the way this all culminates is they're in a bar celebrating Marcus's grandchild's birth with their squad, and essentially they decide there's a bit of banter going back and forth, and they then decide foot race. Whoever wins, if Marcus wins, they hang it up, retire. If is it Mark or Mike? Mike wins, they basically don't. So during the course of this foot race, Mike is shot, and that then leads to Marcus praying, making a deal with God that he will not put any more violence in this world if Mike survives. So I really like Marcus's faith in this movie, and like there's a few hospital scenes where Mike's in a coma, and you can just tell the obvious love that these two characters have for each other. So yeah, I really enjoyed that part. Mike obviously later recovers, and during Marcus's daughter's wedding, Mike finds out that Marcus retired while he was shot, and basically Mike is desperate to find his shooter. He basically says to him, this one more case and you can retire in peace. Marcus says no at this point, and Mike starts running down leads on his own, and it isn't till his captain basically says to him, you can do it, but you have to work with this squad, who's this new high-tech squad known as Ammo, who is run by Um, I can't find her name now. That is annoying. Vanessa Hudgens' character, I think her name's Kelly. Like, guys, I could be wrong on that one. It's been ages since I've seen this film. I am planning on watching it again though, because I bloody love it. And basically, he hangs out with this young squad, gets into a load of shootouts, and everything seems fine until more people begin being targeted by the same assassin that targeted Mike's character, and even eventually their captain, who, as I'm sure you guys that have seen the franchise before, Captain Howard is a beloved character. He is then later killed, and Mike finds evidence that it's due to a case he worked when he first came out of the academy. So after the captain's death, this basically coaxes Marcus out of retirement, and this might be my favourite scene in the movie. They're on top of a skyscraper, I think, in Miami, because they're Miami-Dade PD. Don't ask me where though, because I'm not sure. And Marcus basically comes up to Mike and goes, "One last time," and they had this really cool symbolic fist bump that I really like. I also really some other highlights of this film is I really like, because to be honest, most of the other action. So basically, leading into it, we then find that the people were targeted because of their connection to a case that Mike worked when he first came out of the academy, and he went undercover but fell in love with his target's wife, and they had this thing that they say to each other, which is "Estar en fuego," which is basically "we'll be together till we burn" in Spanish. So Mike was planning on leaving everything he knew behind for her, but then he realised that if he did that, he'd be no better than her. But what he didn't know was during their time together, she became pregnant, and it's his kid that is actually targeting him, because his mother's basically filled his head with a load of lies that because the man he thought was his father died in prison thanks to being sent there by Mike. So, in the end of the film, there's this really cool symbolic moment where he is forced to the bad guy is forced to choose between right and wrong, and he ends up choosing between right and wrong. He ends up choosing the right, and not killing his mother, but pushing Mike and Marcus out of the way. They're basically in this burning building, and he basically pushes them out of the way of a bullet, getting shot himself by his mother, and then Marcus and Mike are then able to take her down, and she ends up dead in the course of events, and they drag him out of the building. And one of my favourite scenes is as they're laying there, he introduces blah blah blah, and Marcus goes, "I'm your Uncle Marcus, but we'll talk about that later." I laugh every time I watch that bit, because obviously it's a grown man, so he wouldn't. One criticism I do have of this film though is, yeah, it's really good in some sense that it's connected to Mike, but couldn't they have done something to make it personal to both characters? I understand when your partners, if something personal to one is personal to the other, but I feel like I would have connected with the story even more if it was personal to both of them, maybe. Yeah, although the action scenes sometimes feel cartoonish, I do really enjoy them. Oh yeah, yeah. Just some negatives of this film. Is it does feel like a Will Smith vehicle in places, and then other than grappling with his mortality and wanting to retire, Marcus doesn't really have. Martin Lawrence, his character Marcus doesn't really have anything big in the film other than backing up his partner, which is good. Don't get me wrong, it's still an amazing film, but I can understand why people get a bit annoyed at times. That it's just a Will. Okay, guys, I'll give you my film. Overall, I feel like this is a great film, and it might actually be my favourite Bad Boys. I know that's sacrilege, but it might actually be my favourite of the three. However, I still really enjoy the first film, and may even consider it. I don't know. I'll have to think about that. But anyway, overall, I do feel like this is a great film. However, and it would have been even better if there'd been higher stakes for both characters, as I said before. Other than Will Smith, I would give this film a 4 out of 5 stars because of the negatives I mentioned below. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you next time.